Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to our regular Friendswood City Council meeting. We appreciate getting to use FISD's boardroom. They've been gracious to let us use their facility while ours is being worked on. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Mo Mays, our chaplain for the PD. So, Mo, if you'll come on up and lead us in prayer, please. Everybody would please stand.
Happy New Year. Got a little something I wanted to share as I read for the new year. I'll share it with y'all. When a man's way pleases the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues and injustice. The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Let's pray together. Father, we come to you this evening, and Father, we do ask that you lead and guide and direct us, Father. Be in every step we make, every move we make. Father, I just pray that you will help us keep love in our hearts and share with people each day and communicate with grace. Father, we thank you for this council and this city that we ask your blessing on this new year and all you've done here in a great community. Father, I ask your blessing on each one here and bless this time that we may honor you in all we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mo. All right, we'll have our pledges at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, we'll ask our council members if they have any comments or things they'd like to say as we get started. Councilmember Renson.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Just a couple of updates. One, the CEDC met and decided, in the month of December, by the way, we're going to have Small Business Week. This will be our third annual, April 27th through May 1. So we'd love for everybody to start thinking about that. It's a whole week worth of programming catered to small businesses. And would also like to thank FDEDC for all the lovely Christmas decorations. I don't know if y'all noticed that the other end of downtown, kind of the south end of downtown by Stevenson Park, City Hall, all of that, Parks and Rec was a participant in that as well, Hometown Bank. But I just want to say thank you because, wow, downtown Friendswood really looked great for Christmas. It really did. And Happy New Year. We're going to have to change up the order because Councilman Branson adds so much and we can't, there's nothing else to say, right? But I would also echo Happy New Year to everyone and how grateful I am to live in Friendswood, to live in this country, to be able to serve the citizens here and to have good discourse about things and to try to keep our community really the great community that it is. And I'll be so happy when the kids go back to school Wednesday and the scooters are off the streets and the e-bikes because they are zooming in and out. And so anyway, watch out for the kids for another day.
Councilmember Griffon.
I'll just say Happy New Year to everybody, and let's just get off to a great start.
And Councilmember Matranga.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. I did want to pass along, because many of you may not have heard or have been involved with our animal services team, but over the holidays, they picked up a obviously elderly and emaciated black Labrador retriever, and they got it in, cleaned it up, and doing the normal checkouts, they scanned for a microchip, and it had a microchip, and along with the police department, they were able to locate at least one owner from that microchip, and although it had long had been registered to that person many years prior. They called and were able to contact this person, and it turned out they had lost their dog 10 years ago. And they had missed that dog. I said absolutely, they were ecstatic to come get the dog. They came and got the dog, and they've since, now it's not nearly as emaciated. It's on its road to recovery. And that's just a shout out to our great animal services team and the work that they do every day. I wanted to pass that along.
Well, I just want to commend our parks. And speaking of dogs, I walk my Labrador Retriever, who's not emaciated, maybe a little overweight, but in Centennial Park just about every day. And it's always refreshing to see our city workers there keeping things clean, the trash cans emptied, and see all the people that are utilizing our park. On any given day, there's basketball going on, there's a workout class, there's soccer, there's lacrosse, there's football, there's runners, there's people fishing, people walking their dogs. It's well utilized. And I know Stevenson Park has looked amazing during this season, and it gets used a lot too. All right. To comply with the provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council may not deliberate any item not listed on the agenda as such. The City Council will listen to public comment, and they may refer the item to city management for further action, or direct staff to place an item on a future agenda. During public comment, the public shall comply with the City Council's rules of decorum. Anyone desiring to present comment should have completed the public hearing comment card in the foyer and submitted it to the city secretary. At the podium, each participant shall give his or her name and address in order to provide a proper record. The rules allow each person 3 minutes to present information. However, I encourage everyone to be as brief and to the point as possible. All right, so the next thing on the, and I have 4 requests here to speak. Did anyone else fill one out? Or is that it? Thank you. All right, committees or special reports. Receive and discuss the annual report of the Friendswood Historical Society. Mr. Smith, Mayor Smith, come on up.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city manager, city attorney, city secretary. You want to do that first? Absolutely. I will sit back
I think
down.
the people that had wanted to make public comments were for the public hearings we're going to have. I don't have any for public comments, so I wasn't skipping that item, but thank you for bringing it to my attention. You may proceed.
Happy New Year. So it's my pleasure to again come and visit with you about the work of the Friendswood Historical Society and give you our annual report. I know that all of you have it before you, and I'm not going to read that to you. I'll take advantage of the public opportunity to remind folks who are listening to me about the Historical Society, and then tell you a little bit something new as well. So our Historical Society exists to preserve and to spread the heritage of the Friendswood history. That's what we do. We do that to a volunteer organization, a 501c3. We run 2 museums in town, the Perry House and the Brown Museum. Those are located behind the Friends Church, is where the Perry House is. The Brown Museum is on Skyview, behind Hometown and Louis Tanos' building right there off of Friendswood Drive. Those museums are open the first Sunday of every month from about 10 to 2, and we also open them for special tours. This past year in particular, we had a neat special tour in that some members of the Brown family actually asked to go through the Brown house. So I had the privilege of being able to walk some grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the Brown family through that museum and let them look at family pictures of all things. That was kind of cool. We will continue to do our annual programs that we do. We have about 25 docents that are great volunteers and help us open and tour people through those museums. We'll do our ice cream social again around Labor Day, and we'll do Histoween, where we take people through the cemetery and introduce them to some of the fine Friendswood figures that are still residing there at the Friends Cemetery. It's a lot of fun. So we welcome everybody to get involved with those things. We still have our Adopt-A-Bed program. We have gardens at the Perry House that the public are welcome to partner with us on to take care of those gardens. Contact us off the Facebook site or give a call and be happy to talk to you about that. So we have a little bit more information coming to you tonight about a new program, but I want to introduce something else to you that we'll be bringing up at our February board meeting. As you are aware, this is our 250th anniversary of our country this year, particularly with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so what we'd like to do is to have the Historical Society sponsor and promote an event. I'd like to build a large-scale replica of the Declaration of Independence and locate it temporarily at Stevenson Park, where our 4th of July parade typically ends up in that park. Have the opportunity for adults and kids to come view a large-scale version of the Declaration, to read it and sign it again. Create the opportunity for them to read, participate, and also say once more that they would be in favor of that declaration today, just as our founding fathers would. So I'm hoping to discuss that at the board meeting this coming February, but I already have spoken with many of the board members and have support for that. So hopefully we'll bring that to you and be able to provide that to you as another service under our banner of the Historical Society for this coming celebration at the 4th of July. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to talk with you tonight. Thanks for your support.
Thank you for all of y'all's volunteerism, all of you.
Yes. All right, the next on our agenda is to receive an overview of the Friendswood Historical Society on the issue of the Joycina Baker Award. Steve Rocky, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. Well, this meeting, we would like to introduce to the public what we're calling the Joycina Baker Award for Volunteerism. We've been working on this, our board, for about the last year, and we're going to roll out it this year. And we started with a quote from Joyce in her book. She talks about how Friendswood was founded on volunteerism. And it's a big part of our town and still is today. And it is something that we want to, with this award, make note of people who have really had a huge impact with their volunteerism. So our history is dominated by the volunteerism. You can't walk 10 feet in this town without seeing something that volunteers have done. Many of our, I'm sorry, I have to look over here to read because I can't read my own notes. Many of our longtime citizens have played a very notable part in this, and we're hoping that this award will recognize some of them. And they have been models, they've been mentors, they've brought other people along. It's just incredible. This award is intended to be seen as an extremely prestigious award in Friendswood, sort of our version of a Nobel Prize. So we're going to award it annually, up to 3 people each year. I think the hardest thing will be to get it down to 3 people each year, to be honest. To get the award, just like the Nobel Prize, you have to be currently among the living. And you have to have made a huge noteworthy impact on the city of Friendswood and the school district and all the areas around associated with us. So it will be administered by the Historical Society. And we are going to have a nomination period that's going to open in February and run through March. We will have an online system, so somebody can go online, they can nominate somebody and send in recommendations and why they're nominating them and all that. So we're working on that to get that going. We will then have a selection team that's made up of some of our board members and some people who are not board members. And then we will pick the honorees for that year, and then we're going to have a very nice, fancy award ceremony in October where each of the honorees will be able to invite friends and family to speak. They'll be able to speak. They'll get a big medal. It's going to be very, very nice. So a couple of things. Currently, elected officials, sorry about this, are not eligible. Okay, and the reason is we just didn't want to get into And neither are Historical Society board members. So Sally gets double dipped here. But if you were on city council or on the board and then you are no longer on it, that can be part of your volunteer stuff if somebody were to nominate you. Unpaid, just for definition's sake, volunteerism are unpaid positions. We love our city staff, but it's just very, very hard to separate work somebody did that's their job versus volunteer work. Now, somebody can be on city staff and have done a whole lot of other volunteer work that they can get credit for and get nominated for. 2026 is our first year, and just let you know, the first year has been funded by donors. So we're not asking for any money from the city for this. The program is already funded. Well, today actually is the kickoff by coming here, the kickoff to the publicizing of it, but we will begin to publicize it broadly on social media and other opportunities. And we expect to have our nomination website going pretty soon, and that will be where people can submit things in. But we'll allow people, if they want to handwrite them and send them to us, we can have that as well. Oh, we're done. So what I wanted to say was, I know that I've talked to all of you up here just to get your opinion earlier, but I wanted to bring this out in the public, and if you all have any comments you'd like to make, or I'd love to hear them. Well, okay. We will be getting going, and I hope you all can be starting to think about people you might nominate. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, beginning with our work session topics, receive and discuss an update regarding the City of Friendswood capital improvement projects. Hill?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. This evening, I'm going to provide you with a brief update on several active capital improvement projects across the city, and I'm going to walk through the status, the next steps, and I'll also highlight a couple of items that are tied to some actions on tonight's agenda. So this slide covers Blackhawk Boulevard. Phase 2B is complete. As council may recall, the original contractor defaulted on that phase. The work has since been completed, and there's an item on tonight's agenda for council to formally accept that project. If you may recall, we took half of that phase and combined it into the next phase, which is 2C. That's the next segment. We've got 90% plans that have been submitted to the city, and we're currently reviewing those plans. Assuming no major issues, the project should be going out to bid late February, maybe early March of this year.
Hill, before you move on,
Yes.
If you're going out to bids early this year, when are you expecting completion?
Completion, we can probably
Mid-year,
expect that
27 or something
within
like
a
that?
year and a half.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yes. So this project runs through Black Hawk Boulevard, FM 518, to FM 518, the 24-inch Clear Creek water line crossing project. We're nearing completion on this project. All the pipe is in the ground, and we've got testing ongoing for this project. Surface restoration is underway, getting everybody's grass back in place and their sidewalks repaired. We've got a change order on tonight's agenda related to additional paving that is necessary to as part of the final restoration efforts. Also wanted to mention that as part of that change order, we're wanting to make sure we're exhausting the ARPA funds that the city has. Don't want to leave any of that on the table. So it was very deliberate of us to take it over budget, so that we're making sure we're expending that money. So. This next project is located on Black Hawk Boulevard, near FM 528. This is the tank project at Surface Water Plant Number 1. The demolition of the old tank is complete, and the foundation of the new tank has been poured. Here you see a picture of them in the process of getting that foundation ready. New concrete panels are being actively poured for the new tank, and they're curing right now, so they'll be erecting those here pretty soon. Construction is progressing well, and the project is scheduled to be completed by October of 2026. Next is the HVAC Unified Planning Work Program. These are projects that are led by the Houston-Galveston Area Council. First is the Friendswood Active Transportation Plan. A community meeting was held at the library on December 18th, just a couple weeks ago. The consultant team is now in the process of analyzing and recommending alternatives, and is using the public input that they got from that meeting on the 18th. The goal of this effort is to improve accessibility, connectivity, and safety for pedestrians and cyclists by evaluating existing conditions, engaging the public, identifying opportunities, and developing actionable strategies. The Friendswood Parkway Corridor Study, that has been completed, and some final deliverables are pending to the HJC. Next are the HJC carryover spend down projects. This slide summarizes several projects where TxDOT currently has engineering underway. At FM 528 in Barrier Boulevard, we've gotten 30% plans that have been delivered to TxDOT. As part of that project, there would be additional lanes that would be encompassed inside the existing right-of-way to improve turning movements at that intersection and reduce intersection delay in the future. At FM 528 in Winding Way, a new northbound right lane is under consideration for design. TxDOT has been given 30% plans on that as well. FM 528, 518, that's the dual left turns along FM 528, and that's under preliminary design right now. And then FM 528 in Sunset, this project includes some restriping and signal reprogramming to increase the turning movements there as well. 30% plans have been delivered there as well.
Hill, if I may ask a question.
Yes.
I know that this money has a time limit on it. Are we concerned at all that these projects will be done before the funds are no longer available?
So I'll ask Mo to help me out on this, but I can tell you right now that we have actively engaged TxDOT. We have communicated to them our ideas on making sure that we're meeting the schedule on that.
So TxDOT has raised some concerns relative to existing utilities and other private utilities that may need to be relocated if there was additional pavement, especially at 528 and 518. We have contemplated some striping enhancements that will allow for the same dual left turn movements in all directions without having to widen the pavement. And so we're actively in communication with them. We will have a completed and implemented project before the deadline, whether it's additional pavement or just restriping, so that we don't lose funding for the area.
Thank you. That's what
Yes,
I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. And then this slide focuses on Friendswood Parkway, which ties into the Pearland Parkway project. There's an action item on tonight's agenda for a new advanced funding agreement resolution, which renames the project. That came at the request of TxDOT, and it's just for administrative consistency on their end. These initiatives are led by the HJC, and this one in particular, it's been determined that they meet the goals and the visions of the regional transportation plan. And that includes the capital improvements projects update. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Hill.
Thank you.
All right, item 8 on our agenda is the proposed future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment for property generally located in the 4700 block of FM 2351. If you'll give us a little bit of a background on that, please.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm used to looking that way. Yes, so this, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a kind of a two-part request tonight. It's a zone change request, but the first part of it is that we have to amend the future land use map in order to approve the zone change request. So this public hearing item is for the future land use map amendment. So currently, you can see on the map, the front portion that's red is designated as retail, and the rear portion that's pink is designated as industrial on our long-range plans. So to approve a mixed-use planned unit development, we have to change the designation to mixed use.
Aubrey, before you go on, just to make sure I understand, that's how it's zoned now?
It is how it's zoned now.
Okay.
Yes.
Not just in the future land use map, it's how it's currently zoned. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, sir. So just as a refresher, the future land use map is a guide to direct our land use decisions. It was updated in 2021, and some of the strategies that we used in updating the map as a whole in 2021 was the impacts of reaching the 50,000 population, maintaining or achieving an 80% residential, 20% commercial property tax base, and the best use of the land considering neighboring properties while also considering community goals. Like I said, the descriptions of the districts were in your backup material. If you have any questions on those, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, it is 5:58 p.m., and I'm calling to order this public hearing concerning a request for an amendment to the future land use map for the property located generally at 4700 block of 2351, a tract of land containing 29.3726 acres to change from retail and industrial to mixed use. I have here some requests for individuals to speak to this issue, and the first is Nicholas Deutsch. Am I saying that close?
Deutsch, thank you.
There we go. Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. My name is Nick Deutsch. I am the developer of all those 4650s. That's Garage Ultimate. That's a 10-acre tract that I developed. I'm here today on behalf of the Property Owners Association. We've got about 20 owners out here. Y'all can wave. You'll hear from a few of us, not all of us, as well as a few people that wanted to be here that weren't able to. But we've got some concerns about the change to the future land use map as well as the proposed zoning change. So we developed our site back in 2016, and we worked with the city and TxDOT and Denbury and Centerpoint. We did a traffic study on 2351. We executed all the easements. We worked with the neighbors, ended up developing, right now we've got 64 garage units, so garage condos that people have actually purchased, and then most of us like cars. A few other things, a few other uses, but most of us like cars. So we've built these garages, built out these garages, have put considerable expense into not only developing the project, but also building out the garages themselves. The concern is that a high-density residential land use is incompatible with our industrial use, the current industrial use. The city annexed the whole Panhandle area in the early 1980s. I think 1982. It was all oil and gas property. So it was zoned industrial, and in 2021, the land use map was looked at once again. Again, this entire area was zoned industrial. This is 5 years after we had purchased the property, after we had put our industrial infrastructure in reliance on it being an industrial corridor. So it's all industrial except for this one tract that we're suggesting to take out and make a planned unit development, which, as you'll hear later, would actually end up being residential. This is after, in 2021, council approved the current land use map that keeps this industrial, and it's after, just recently, the General Land Office gave the city a grant to look at that comprehensive plan one more time. There's been, I believe, one meeting that's taken place. The results will be at the end of this year. But we're being asked to usurp that whole process, usurp the 2021 process when this council said that property should remain industrial, and instead we're going to take this single tract, pull it out, and make it a planned unit development that will actually be high-density residential next to us. Our concern is that the only provision that they've cited for this is that the land is proposed for development as a mixed-use development requiring more flexibility and innovative design standards. Now, this criteria for amending the future land use map is typically used for like internal site planning or maybe some creative architecture, not to get a high-density residential development inside of an industrial zoned site. Nothing about mixed-use flexibility requires multifamily residential to be placed immediately adjacent to industrial. The plan instead could keep a commercial buffer or place residential further away. In fact, one basis for a planned unit development would be because you have differing uses. They haven't gone under that. They've gone under this single reason that we can't change it now. We're going as a mixed-use development requires more flexibility and innovative design standards as the sole basis for this. We're also supposed to minimize the negative impacts. In fact, one of the reasons for a PUD is to minimize the negative impacts of development, especially those related to drainage, environment, traffic, and public services and related facilities. The submission, I believe, says must protect nearby landowners from adverse impact. This does not protect neighboring landowners from adverse impact. They haven't done a traffic impact analysis. It says in the documents that were submitted that a traffic impact analysis will be required. This is significant because the access to the property is through our shared drive. This is the only drive. There's not a median cut for a left turn lane there from 2351, and Clear Creek High School is directly across the street. Those kids come in and let out of school twice a day. We're proposing 391 apartment units, and I believe 5 or more retail buildings will all come out directly into this already congested drive area. I'm out of time, so I don't want to go too far over, but if council or mayor has any questions, I'd love to address them.
No, thank you. We'll hear from the other speakers. The next one I have is Ellison Farias.
Aubrey, is there any way that we could put the exhibit up so we could actually see Garage Ultimate's development by where this PUD's being proposed?
It's on the bottom of the screen there.
Oh.
There's a speaker right in the way, and I can't see it, but other than that, we're good. All right, you may proceed.
Hi, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. My name is Ellison Farias. I'm a resident and owner at Garage Ultimate, but I also own 2 properties inside the city. I just wanted to iterate because I've done a lot of the build-outs for a lot of the owners here. And one of the things that the owners, when they committed to these improvements and basically a country club of car enthusiasts, is that they're able to enjoy their cars. We're able to have car shows. But I really want to touch on the safety aspect of it. It's very difficult for 16, 17, 18-year-old young new drivers to navigate into school. Many a times I'm sitting there in the turn lane asking these drivers, please come forward so you have proper view to turn into the high school drive. Almost daily. Exacerbate that by adding 391 potential drivers, and then however much retail space is going to create traffic there. It's a recipe for disaster. I'm going to say a couple numbers that I heard in passing on the way here, that stoplights need to be 1,300 feet spaced apart from. You're going to have a traffic light there. It is going to make 2351 even more miserable. One of our owners today on the way home, it took 18 minutes, he timed it, 18 minutes from the time that he approached 2351 at 45 to get to the garage. As you know, it's not a long journey. Adding this many people at rush hour traffic to get to their apartment or their proposed apartment is going to increase that time for residents of not only Friendswood, but also Alvin that cuts through our city to get to their homes. Is there any other questions that you might have? It's a major safety concern with traffic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Stephen Guerin.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for listening to me tonight. My name is Stephen Guerin. I'm a resident of League City and a Garage Ultimate owner. I bought 2 units in Garage Ultimate, and the reason I bought those is specifically because of the way the unit, the area is currently zoned. The units that I left to move, I moved from, were units that were adjacent to a high-density multifamily project, and I wanted to leave there because of the inherent safety, public safety issues that are associated with that type of project. I feel that if this rezoning goes through, that the value of my property will be eroded, and I'm not happy with that. I'm not okay with that. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Phil Radisson. Radiso, I apologize.
Council, Mayor, and everyone else here. I'm here on a little different point of view on this. I love this Garage Ultimate. I wish I could afford to be there and have some of the cars they have there. I've been to several car shows. But like they're talking about, I'm coming at it from a resident standpoint because I live across the street in the neighborhood there along Blackhawk, and that much more traffic is something that we just don't need in that area. If a whole apartment complex is going to put a lot of traffic there, and we don't know what else, but also we're talking about drainage. I had almost 3 feet of water in my home. I hope it gets negated there. I know we have to have regulations around, they have to detain their water and stuff. But also, that many in that area is just not a good fit, because I know the city is trying to get more residents in, get their residential up, but you have two ways apartments go. They're either high dollar, so they can maintain what they've got, they build a nice place there. That limits who can live there. And I'll tell you right now, from having millennial kids, they don't want to come live in an apartment in Friendswood. They don't want to pay that kind of rent. If they're going to pay that rent, they want to be somewhere downtown or out on the southwest side or midtown where they got a lot of everything around them. There's nothing out there for them there. Therefore, what happens when those apartments don't rent? Because the rent's too high, and at that point, then it drops down and you start getting the riffraff in. And we've already got enough issues with the apartment complexes across the street. You just read your police report every Monday. There's always something in there coming from the police. What's the amount of police this one's going to take too? We're already, we have and we love our police, but do we want to add another area like this that will affect them? There's other uses that can be done. I know it hadn't happened, but we're build out, so there's other people that are come forward with things. Garage Ultimate may expand. They're sold out, so you never know. But just think about this before we go and change this, because we know you're wanting to put in, or P&Z and City is wanting to put in a planned unit development with the advent of high-density apartments in there, high-density housing. And I just don't think it's a good fit for anyone around there. Thank you.
All right, there being no one else desiring to speak on this issue, I will now close the public hearing.
I don't think the applicant filled out a card. I think they were probably expecting to get an opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
So if we can let them,
Sure.
thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. My name is Jeff Route. I'm with EHR Engineering. We're the applicant representing the property owner in this case. The property owner is here if there are any questions, as well as the proposed multifamily developer who would be partnering on the project. I know we've talked a lot about the zoning, and this item is specifically for the future land use map, so I'll start there. Part of what this site looked attractive to us in terms of being a potential candidate for rezoning is the fact that it is on the edge of many other uses in the city. So this whole area, although zoned industrial, if you look on the map, just to the north of us is actually a golf course. So that whole golf course area is shown in the future land use plan, or future land use map as industrial. And then just to the adjacent to that site is the county park. As was already mentioned, across the street is the high school, as well as two other apartment complexes. And then the property directly to our west is actually being proposed for regional detention between the property owner, who actually owns the golf course and his parcel to the west of us, and Harris County. So they're partnering for a regional detention opportunity that would actually affect and benefit our site, and hopefully give us some more flexibility that we could use in the zoning case or in the zoning approval to build in more of a buffer between the existing use at Garage Ultimate. So I think in general, as it relates to the future land use map, this is an area of transition, and it's not developed as a lot of industrial on all of our adjacent sites. Regarding the zoning case, I don't know how much more. I know there's a whole other item for that, but a lot of the concerns that have been brought up are traffic and drainage. I think with drainage, like I've already mentioned, there's that opportunity to partner with the adjacent property owner in Harris County for a regional detention facility. So I think the drainage will be taken care of. And also, as per the ordinance, drainage requirements must be met no matter what. So however this develops, that's not really a purview, or it's not under your purview right now to consider, as the drainage will be dealt with the same way that any other parcel has to deal with it. And then in terms of traffic, understand always traffic is a big concern. Part of what we are proposing, and it's not going to be the traffic fix, but it is a mixed-use development. And so this is meant to be, the idea and the hope is that there are some people who would live there as well as work in some of the office or some of the retail that's there on site. And we've given this a bit more thoughtful of a design. We're putting what looks like, well, there's quite a bit of green space, can function as a somewhat semi-public trail connection to the park that's to the west, if we can work that out with Harris County. And so part of the idea is that we're doing our little part to hopefully alleviate some traffic concerns in two ways. Number one, with that mixed-use aspect, but also, as was already mentioned, we will be required to have a traffic impact analysis, just like every other site that every other user who could potentially develop that site. So if there's not any questions, I think that's all I'd say about the future land use map.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it is now 6:16 p.m. Moving on from the future land use map issue, we're going to call to order the public hearing concerning a request for zone classification change for the property generally at 4700 block of FM 2351, a tract of land containing 29.3726 acres to change from community shopping center and industrial to planned unit development. So Aubrey, if you will bring us up to speed on that
And
request.
real quick, before Aubrey speaks, there's one more speaker that we had missed. I apologize, Mayor, I didn't give you that sooner, but they can speak during this public hearing item.
All right. This is the second part of the request tonight. So we'll get a little bit more into the project details. The map on the screen, like Joe pointed out earlier, looks similar to the future land use map. The portion in blue is zoned community shopping center currently, and then the pink portion is zoned industrial currently. The property is subject to the community overlay district, which is a buffer, but we did change it out here in this industrial area. So anything north of the creek on the Harris County side, because it was an industrial area, we reduced that community overlay district buffer from 300 feet to 150 feet a few years ago. So just the front 150 feet will be subject to the increased landscaping, underground utilities, garage bay doors not fronting the thoroughfare, things like that. And the intention of that was to keep our thoroughfare looking nice coming into Friendswood. So the proposed project is a mixed-use development consisting of high-density residential and commercial space. The commercial portions of the development will utilize the neighborhood commercial zoning district to regulate the uses that are allowed in the commercial areas, except for gas stations. Gas stations would not be allowed. And then any uses that require specific use permit in our permitted use table under neighborhood commercial would still require an SUP for this development as well. There would be, I think, the total square footage of all the commercial buildings is about 85,000 square feet of commercial space. The residential portion of the development would be high-density residential. It would be 366 garden apartments and then 24 townhomes. The access to the property would be through the existing road that leads to Garage Ultimate. Originally, these were all 10-acre tracts it's one in front of the other. So there was 40-foot access easements along the perimeter of all the properties to provide access to the rear tracks. So our ultimate right-of-way width is 60 feet. So as the 10-acre tracts are developed, we're requiring the additional 10 feet on each side of that 40 to make the ultimate 60. I think the applicant is here again to give some more details, and then we can do public comments too.
Yes, let's hear from the applicant, then we'll call up the people who want to make a public comment. Thank you, sir. If you'll state your name again for the record.
Yes, my name is Jeff Boutte with EHRA Engineering. So to elaborate on some of what I said earlier, there are This zoning process would include two parts. And so what we're proposing tonight is just the step one. It's the concept plan phase. And so the plan that's in your packets is just that. It's a concept plan, and it's subject to change, but change only based on the regulations that are approved in the text of the plan unit development document itself. So for example, we can have 391 units. Those may move around on the concept plan. But whenever we go to step two, which would be after this zoning is approved, we would have to come back to staff and to P&Z and eventually to council with an approval of the site plan. And the site plan would need to meet all of the zoning requirements that were in the plan unit development document, as well as we would be submitting building plans at the time. So it would be a full civil set that shows you exactly what would be built. It was mentioned earlier too about using the one drive to enter and exit the site that's adjacent or across from the high school. Our site would be required to have 2 points of access. There's another median cut that's further to the west, so that all of the traffic would not be going out of the one existing private drive that's there. There would be a second point of access. Currently, after P&Z made their recommendation, we moved 2 of the residential buildings further away from the garage ultimate to reduce any sort of conflicts. And on the PD concept plan, established a 75, and this would be part of the actual rules. We established a 70-foot residential structure setback from the property line, and then established a 20-foot mature tree buffer. If you go on site now, this private roadway, which extends to the back off of from 2351. The site is very heavily wooded. There's a lot of mature trees. And so what we're proposing is to save at least 20 feet of that based on Planning and Zoning's recommendation to serve as a buffer between the residential portions of our property and the garage ultimate use. Now, ultimately, we are willing to make that larger. So if council feels that in order to make these uses more appropriate, if that existing tree buffer of saved mature trees needs to get wider, we are willing to do that, as well as if there needs to be a further setback for residential structures. We're also willing to do that as well. The property owner, as I mentioned, the property owner is here, as well as the residential developer. Part of why we can do that is we're participating in that regional, we hope to participate in that regional drainage proposal between our neighboring property owner and Precinct 2. Based on their initial estimates, the engineer who works with that property owner, the size of our detention pond could be reduced as much as, possibly as much as 4 acres. And so the way the PD and the concept plan would work is, depending on how much detention that can be shared with the neighbor, our site could shift down to the west, as far further away from the garage ultimate use. Of course, there would be detention studies and requirements, and the idea is whenever you have that shared detention, you can gain much more efficiency. And as mentioned before, there'd be a traffic impact analysis before the site could be developed and built. And so tonight would just be the initial zoning concept plan approval and the regulations that are within the PD. So there'd be the opportunities to look at drainage and traffic in the future. Now, unless property owner or residential developer has anything else to add, we'll take some questions if you have any.
Council, any questions?
So, anybody want to go first? Go, Joe. You can
No,
go
I
first.
was just gonna ask, is this the right time, or should we have the other public speakers come up? I just asked.
While we have him here and have heard what he said, let's ask some questions and we can ask more if we need to. Please proceed.
Okay. Did I hear patio garden homes and townhomes were in this high-density residential?
It was garden-style apartments and townhomes. So
What's a garden-style apartment?
think of it more as like a 3 to 4 story building with green space around. So it would look, it's what's typically referred to as just a typical multifamily layout in terms of a 3 to 4 story building with stairs and parking around and green space. And then the townhomes would be situated within, closer into the site, in between some of the office and retail buildings, facing a central promenade, a green space that extends towards 2351 with some park-like features and an open space that would be surrounded by restaurants or office and retail.
Okay. For now.
Break all my questions I'll break some of my questions up. So the applicant, and you're representing them, currently owns the property?
Yes.
And
that's
it was purchased with the concept that it's a mix of community shopping and industrial, correct?
correct. When it was purchased, it's.
It's currently
Yes,
zoned?
That's right.
Okay. So what, just out of understanding this issue, what's Plan B? So I mean, if it doesn't, if the zoning doesn't change, are you still intending to develop this property?
Yeah, I can invite representative from property owner to come. No, no.
Okay,
So,
you're going with Plan A
Yeah,
at this
so
point?
when they
No, no.
engaged us, it was the plan then to come in with the rezoning
Okay.
and seek that.
So, in your drawing, does that reflect this new setbacks that, for noise?
So this particular drawing, it was revised after P and Z. There
Right.
were two residential buildings that were directly adjacent to the property line that were in line with the purple buildings that represent office and retail. And so based on the feedback we heard, we established that 20-foot mature tree buffer and then at least a 70-foot structure setback and moved all of the parking up to the northeast of the site to get as much setback as we could.
Well, because one of my major concerns, I mean, I've heard several concerns tonight, but one of the ones that really sticks out for me is the noise, because as an industrial site, you have there's a 70 dBA limit. For residential, it's 58 at night, so that's a big difference. And and as someone earlier also mentioned, that in looking at these PUDs, we can't then harm the current residents surrounding this PUD. So my concern is becoming a noise problem for residents when there's people that are using the property or own the property next door or just using it how they've always been using the property. So I mean, and I know 70 to 58 doesn't sound like a big deal, but as noise levels go, that's a pretty big deal. So, I think if I remember correctly, 70 dBA is something like a running vacuum cleaner. And 58 is more like, a quiet conversation or a running refrigerator. So have you done any work, any engineering work to kind of figure out how far back do you need to be if they're at 70 dBA at their fence line, which they're allowed to do as an industrial zoning? How far back would you have to be to make sure that their 70 dBA is 58? Has anybody done that work yet?
So I have not, and I don't want to speak out of turn or
Sure,
especially
I
if
understand.
it's not mine. As so many people do today, I went to Google and I started doing some research. And I don't know if I can trust the numbers, but there's a 5 to 10 decibel reduction when you give a 50-foot tree buffer, I believe is the amount. And so we were seeking to give as much as we could within the flexibility that we had built into the site plan.
Yeah.
And we would be willing to give more. I don't know the exact number. I think that's up to council without having a sound engineer or someone here who can speak to the very specifics. But it's up to council. If a larger buffer is required, I can say that our property owner is willing to do that, especially given the flexibility that we can have with the regional detention to our west, saving space.
Okay, many of our PUDs that we've approved in the past have some sort of amenities for the residents. There's PUDs within Friendswood that have park space, that have trails and that kind of thing. So is this PUD, or what would you consider to be the amenities that you're bringing to the residents?
Yeah, so we are proposing three types of amenities. So there's the open space that you can see. It's on the map, but it traverses the site from basically north to south, and this is proposed in the PD as what we're calling a semi-public trail connection. And so there's the Frankie Carter Randolph Park that's to the west, and as part of this regional detention participation, there's a trail network that actually connects. I believe it connects to the city's network, and if it doesn't now, it could possibly in the future. But there would be proposed trail connection to the park and to the trail system that would go through the site and then turn and go along our detention into the public park.
And so
That would be one.
All right. And you said a lot of possibly could happen. So is that part of the plan that has been submitted? That you would connect those trail systems to Frankie Carter Randolph? That's going to get built?
Well, it
if
would be
approved.
subject to county approval, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But we're leaving the space for it and putting it in the concept plan for the PUD. And remember, there'd be a second round of reviews. And then also, there's two other green spaces. There's a more private amenity green space, which is reserved for the multifamily apartments. And then there is a green space promenade that goes from the apartment recreation space, the private space, all the way to the frontage along 2351. And that would be flanked on either side with townhomes and the retail uses near the front. So this is like a public plaza area where you could have green space, similar to, much lower density, but similar to something like City Center, where you've got restaurants or retail around and you've got a green space in the middle where people can hang out after dinner or even maybe some patio space there and congregate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
This plat is a newer, updated plat since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that you had, simply because now I see you have pushed away from the garage ultimate.
Yes.
Okay. My biggest confusion, I think, with all of this is the right-of-way easements that are going into the properties. I understand that in 1908, these 10-acre tracts were divided, and these 40-acre private easements were allotted to the 10-acre lots. And I don't know, maybe you can answer this question, is there 20 feet on each side of the property line that's incorporated to each 10-acre tract? Coastal Bend has 20 feet private, Garage Ultimate has 20 feet private, and your development on your acreage would have a 20-foot easement that's private there now. This is what is written in our PUD explanation to us. A traffic impact analysis will be required. There is an existing 30-foot private road running the length of the side of the property. I don't know if that's your side of the property, but I'm assuming this is going to be 30 feet. The property owner will be required to dedicate 10 feet, so you're going to dedicate 10 more to the 20-foot that's already on his side. Once the vacant tract across the road develops, well, the vacant tract across the road is owned by Coastal Bend, and the city has no authority whatsoever or jurisdiction on his private road or his 10-acre tract. Right now, it's undeveloped. So I don't know why we're saying once the vacant tract across the road is developed, they will dedicate and improve the other 10 feet. So that's kind of a big assumption on the part of the city that that tract is empty right now, and we don't know when it's going to be developed. So when is their 30 feet and your 30 feet going to be put together to form a 60-foot road, which is required under the city ordinance of the city of Friendswood?
So I think it's either, it could be a typo or a misunderstanding. We do have 20 feet on our side of the property line, and there's another 20 feet on the other. And
Right.
those 220 make the existing 40-foot roadway easement.
Right.
And then as part of the PUD, we are required to dedicate an additional 10 feet to that
Now, do
easement.
you own that 20 feet on the other side of that 10 acres that's owned by Coastal Bend, or do you own your 20 feet? See that dedication was to the property owner of each tract. Aubrey, you might be able, I'm going to go ahead and go also, because this is a continuation of that, is circulation. The concept plan illustrates the proposed circulation system for Clear Creek Village. The plan is designed to meet the mobility needs of the development in a safe and efficient manner, as well as provide adequate circulation for the overall site. There shall be 2 access points. The first access point will be a shared driveway easement. Now, I know that shared driveway easement is on Coastal Bend, but it also goes back to Garage Ultimate, and I believe that they have signage there, I believe. Okay? Constructed at the existing curb out along FM 2351. The second access point will be a 30-foot wide private access easement constructed as a part of the development. Now, I see that's the middle one, and that also has a median that can go all the way across. Both of these have cut through, so I think that's good. Okay, the second access point up to the private drive will be 30 feet wide, running along the east property line, adjoining an existing driveway easement. The private drive will be built to meet guidelines established under section, so hear me out. You are going to dedicate 10-foot width to 20-foot to get a 30-foot private access easement into your property, and the private drive will be 30 feet wide, running along the east 30 feet, but he doesn't own that 30 feet. Coastal Bend owns that 30 feet, and so does Garage Ultimate. So I'm confused on who has the authority to dedicate these roads into this property.
We're only asking them to dedicate the additional 10 feet on their side of the property. On their side, the easement and pavement are two different things. So the 60-foot road easement is what's required ultimately, is the easement. It's not the pavement.
We're calling these private driveways and private easements. Does he have the right to drive down both sides of this easement?
Those property owners have rights to
Okay.
use those roadways. This just not being dedicated as a public street for the city to maintain.
Now, does this private drive, private easement, run all the way to Timber Creek Golf Course?
Yes.
Because I see it turns off to go to the Garage Ultimates, and I think there is a gate there. I believe there's a gate there for their property, and I know they don't want to tear down their gate, and I know they don't want to share access when they have properties over there and valuable cars and that sort of thing. So is your 30-foot easement going to go into your development to make up the 60 feet that right now the easement's there? Or what are we saying Garage Ultimate has to do with their 20 feet all the way to Timber Creek? That's my question.
So the original 40-foot easement that straddles the property line goes all the way to Timber Creek. Garage Ultimate did not dedicate an additional 10 feet because their road went into their development. So the additional 10 feet they're going to be responsible for the additional 10 feet on their side of the property, which they're going to have it for fire access, for the fire trucks to get back there.
And so this PUD does not need the 20 feet on the other side of the property line that's owned by Garage Ultimate?
No.
This
No.
PUD does not need the additional 20?
And we're not requiring that, we're only requiring the 10 feet on this subject property.
Plus the 20 of, which was the old
Which is the
easement.
original.
All right,
And
so
then
this-
when
This
coastal,
easement is going to continuously and perpetually be cared for by the PUD owners, by the property. This will never become an encumbrance on the city. It will never become public road.
at this point, that's not the plan. We require private roads to be developed at city standards so that if in the future they want to give the road to dedicate it as a public road, it should meet the standards.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Have some. Do you have more?
Well, I want a
Okay, go ahead.
clarification.
Yeah.
I have some more questions that I think that Aubrey will be better suited to answer.
Yeah.
For the applicant, I think I'm done.
We do have some public comments that
Yeah,
I
I was saying, I think there's gonna be another, I just don't wanna miss a chance here.
You will not miss it.
Thank you, sir. I'm good.
So I don't know if this is really for you either, but originally I got phone calls about this project saying that it was a Section 8 housing, proposed Section 8 housing project. And people that had interest in the garage apartments or the garages, I hate to call them, high-end garages, whatever they're called. They don't look like my garage at home. And I understood that. But I, learned that this is not in any way, shape, or form, and I am very familiar with that process and how it has to come to city council and has a public hearing and the whole bit, and so that is not occurring. The traffic issue, I get. I think Friendswood has a traffic issue, and I worry about adding more traffic. Detention, I know that'll all be taken care of, the flooding and all that. But I don't understand how I'm having a hard time understanding how residential negatively impacts the garages. So I need some help with that, maybe Aubrey or somebody can help me with that, some comments. I'm having a hard time with that rather than industrial, because industrial is pretty wide, and a lot of things could be built there under the current zoning. So I am struggling with that, and the traffic issue. I'm struggling with the traffic issue.
Yeah, I kind of am too, Trish. I'm in a situation where subdivision have grown up around a landfill, and all of a sudden the people who developed in the subdivisions don't like the landfill, but the landfill was there for 35 years, 40 years, and now they're complaining about the landfill. I don't think that the residents are going to bring down the property ownership of the industrial side at all. I can see someone coming in, they know full well that that's zoned industrial. They move in there, and they hear the noise, and then they complain, well, you should have known that where you, so I really appreciate the fact that you did change this map and moved them away from the Garage Ultimate property line. I think that is a huge plus. But I've seen this happen before.
Yeah.
It's industrial, it's, now people are encroaching on an industrial site, and next thing you know, they're complaining about the industrial site. Well, the industrial site's been there forever and ever and ever, so it's not Garage Ultimate's fault that these people are complaining. And that's something that we just have to be prepared. If we are prepared to do that, we have to be prepared to answer that. But, you know, the people are moving there. You're moving there under the understanding that that's industrial. And I do believe that it's a good buffer between the parks and industrial. It's a beautiful design, and criteria and everything are beautiful. I just want to make sure that we're not looking down the road going, do we really have this access or not? And some of the same concerns. But I do appreciate the fact that you moved the buildings away from Garage Ultimate.
Yeah. And like I said, the property owner is here, and he can speak if he wants, but I can say that we're willing to make that buffer larger. Right now it's at 70. We're willing to go up to 150 or 200 for the structures. And then for the mature trees, you know, it's currently 20 is what I thought I could spare on the site plan at the time, but based on the regional detention that's going to be available to our west, that could increase up to
And my final
30 to
question,
40.
and thank you, is this is subject to a community overlay district and all the design criteria manuals that are associated with a community overlay district. So even if we're doing away with the CSC, which I'm glad we're doing away with it, I don't know why we sometimes arbitrarily put that in there in our flume map, but this is subject to an overlay district, community overlay district, correct?
Just the initial 150 feet.
Right. Well, that's the way it kind of is all the way down, except for some arbitrary places where we've gone in and taken up a whole 10 acres and called that communities, which I don't understand. And then we reduced it from 300 to 150, which is a good plan. But this is, as long as it's subject to the community overlay district, I have no problem with getting away with the community, the commercial shopping center.
Yeah, so the community shopping center zoning district and the community overlay district are two separate things.
Right, but
So-
the guidelines under the community overlay district is what's going to be built and how it's going to be built on 2351.
Yeah,
That
only,
design criteria that we're required in that overlay district is going to be followed. The
just the
buildings
first
will
150 feet.
Just first 100, well, that's pretty much.
I have just a couple
Before
of
you leave,
questions.
more questions.
Sorry, a couple questions. One, I appreciate your efforts. PUDs are for us. This is, the land that's left developed in Friendswood is difficult, and PUDs is probably the best way to approach that. I too don't really have concern about the detention because I know about the agreement between Precinct 2 and the current landowner. I think that's going to be just fine. I do believe we're going to have a variety of housing options for folks in Friendswood. We're, you know, not an expensive town to live in, and folks would like to be here. They like to participate in the school districts and things like that. So I do understand that. I was hopeful that you were going to answer Councilmember Hanks a little differently. I was looking for, I thought I had been informed it was going to be higher end on the multifamily. So I would lean towards that, and that kind of leads me to my next question. I know we're concerned about young drivers. Have you ever considered 55 and over? I know that there's a higher and higher demand in Friendswood for 55 and over. A lot of our folks don't want to have their big homes anymore. They would rather be in something smaller, but they don't want to leave the area. So that was one of my questions. And then my final one, I think Robert was trying to get this clarification, is I know where the one access is going to be, but where is the second access going to be? Because I do agree, traffic is a problem in Friendswood. We've got a lot of work to do on that, and we are trying hard. We've got to chair the TAC committee right here. But I would like to know where that other access will be, and then also if you've ever considered the 55 and over versus just being open.
I'll start with the access, and then I'll let the residential developer answer that second question. The second point of access, as you can see with the pointer, or hopefully you can see Aubrey's pointing. There is a.
I can't, okay, I'm at a disadvantage here. I apologize. I cannot see that. That speaker is right in my way. Okay.
Yeah, there is a median cut on 2351 that is just to the southwest of the tennis courts that you can see in the aerial. And so our proposed fire lane street system connects to both the 40-foot roadway easement, which is being expanded, as well as that median cut on 2351. And as
So-
part, oh, go ahead.
One is this promenade that you were talking about?
Yes, so-
Okay.
Yes, so the green
And
space
this
that's
is
in
the other-
between the
okay,
townhomes
okay.
and the office and retail, which are shown in purple.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
And then as part of the traffic impact analysis, if improvements to the median in terms of turn lanes or things like that would need to be made, that would be determined at that time, as well as possible relocation or additions of new streetlights or traffic lights. And then if I'd invite Jay to come up and answer the question about the 55 and over.
Thank you very much. And your map was very helpful. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jay Young. I'm with a group called JPI. We are a multifamily developer based out of Dallas-Fort Worth. We are a top 15 multifamily developer in the country. Unfortunately, we do not do 55 and up product. Our bread and butter is market rate luxury housing. Typically garden-style communities, 3-4 story exterior staircases, as well as 5-7 story infill wrap products with a structured garage. But no, unfortunately, this is not an area or a project we would consider 55 and up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have several citizens who've requested to speak to this issue. The first is Darlene Gilly. Ms. Gilly, come on up. Yes, ma'am. That's the reason I'm calling you up.
I'm going to thank you for listening to us. I am Garage Ultimate. I own a unit there, and I just want to give you a history how I got there. Middle of retirement, built my dream home, loving it, fell in love with Garage Ultimate, and drove back and forth to enjoy Garage Ultimate. We sold our house and moved to Friendswood. There's like 4 or 5 people that own units there that sold their homes and moved to Friendswood to be able to use Garage Ultimate. Industrial, yay. Retail, yay. That is not a place to raise a family. I'm sorry, in the middle of all the industrial. We're worried about the safety of kids. We're worried about the safety of our cars. We just put in the flock system to run license plates, and it hooks to the city of Friendswood, to the police department, for safety of our area. Garage Ultimate brings a lot of money to Friendswood. I just have to say, if you're looking for money, we are spending as much as we can. We've had weddings there, new venues. We've had birthdays there. We've had parties there. We use all the local venues that we can, or vendors. We had a celebration of life for one of my very best friends there. We bring a lot of people to the garage. We have car shows. We do dream rides with kids with cancer there. We are volunteering all the time to help the community if they need it, but we'd also like the community to respect our industrial area. We bought there to have an industrial area. We want people to put businesses there. We want to use their businesses. So I think if y'all would look at money-wise, to flip it the other way and say, how can we bring money in, keep it industrial. It's not Friendswood schools, so people are not gonna move here to put their kids in school, because that's Clear Creek. I mean, I was real estate for 15 years. I could say move to Friendswood for the schools, and I still believe in that. But that piece of land is not gonna bring kids to school here. So I just wanted you to know that we upped our whole family and moved because of the industrial Garage Ultimate and what the owners there, their family. You can call anybody anytime. They know a vendor, they know where you can get it, they'll come help you, they'll take you to the doctor. We have made a community out of Garage Ultimate, and we would like to see that become that way with industrial all the way down. It's just one of our dreams. Thank you so much.
All right, Stephen Guerin, did you want to speak to this issue as well? Anything different than what you said? How about Ellison Farias? Any additional comment on this particular 8B? Come on up.
I'll keep it, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'll keep it brief. My name is Ellison Farias once again. I think Nick wants to say something, but one of the items that was, I believe, addressed by either Joe or Robert was asked, does our road extend all the way to the Timber Creek? It does not. It actually, it is cut short. Probably where you see the red line to the entrance of what we call Building 1, our first building. It actually starts to course over. You can probably see that in the shadow. So I just wanted to correct that. It does not reach the golf course. The other item is just as a builder there. People have spent a lot of money, and I am there a lot because I build all these units out. And I can consistently say we have issues in the apartment complex across the street. I believe we even had an incident on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. I believe someone was taking something from the gas station and ran into the apartment complex, and there was about a dozen cops there at one point. Adding, I know some of you think that adding a nice residential place, I'm sure they make a beautiful product. But adding that dense of a population in that small of an area is going to cause issues. It's just a numbers game. The more you add in a smaller space, you're going to have issues. You're going to have more taxing on the police to go to these things. You also have a high school across the street. I'm not really sure how many retailers dream about having high school kids wander over there after school, potentially hanging out at their places of business, other than maybe a Subway or a Fast Bite Pizza Hut. I can't imagine. My wife owns a retail store here in town. We haven't had a whole lot of issues, but when you do get younger families with younger kids who are inevitably going to attend this high school, you're going to have more issues. You're going to have more shoplifting. You're going to have more loitering. Those are items that happen when you have denser populations in a confined area. I'll leave it to Nick if we have more time. Any questions?
And Phil Radiso, did you want to speak further to this issue? Okay. So there being no one else to speak, I'll close the public hearing. We're going to move on to item 8C. Consider approving an ordinance amending the future land use map for the property located generally at 4700 block of FM 2351, a tract of land containing 29.3726 acres to change its designation from retail and industrial to mixed use, and amending the official zoning map to change the zoning classification for such property from community shopping center and industrial to planned unit development, or PUD. All right, council, any discussion on that issue before we ask for a motion?
Yes, I have some questions for I think, more appropriate for staff. Just
Okay.
kind of really process questions.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So historically, what has been our experience as far as cost of services for higher density type residential areas? So from fire protection, EMS, police, water, sewer. I'm just curious, in looking at trying to do a mixed use where there's some high density residential here, is it about the same, a little bit more, a little bit less?
It's about the same. Any analysis on the cost of services is dependent on what it takes to balance our budget. Obviously, we have a balanced budget each year, and the average home value in Friendswood's right around $450,000 to $500,000. The reality is we adjust revenues based upon the more commercial we get, the less burdensome we can be on residential property owners and allow the diversification of our tax base. But each individual home obviously has a different burden on our system.
Sure.
Some homes call 911 more. We had this discussion when we talked about billing for EMS services. The higher age bracket in the community obviously is going to need more medical care and attention. So it varies from site to site.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one of the concerns on a mixed-use development like this is where you have apartments in one section and then commercial in the front, is how they're sequenced. Is there a way we can make sure, because what I don't want to happen is apartments gets built and then, hey, the market's just not right for commercial development. And so next thing you know, we have apartments there and no mixed use or no commercial use. So is there a way structurally, and again, maybe that's, again, a later vote, because we're just talking about zoning now, but is there a way to address that sequencing?
That was a concern from the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. They, I think, failed to include it in their recommendation because they got sidetracked with some other things. But now would be the time to, if you wanted to include some kind of phasing, or, you know, like certain, like 50% of the commercial to be done at a certain point, or some, like, just to assure that we do get some commercial instead of.
But does that have to be done tonight in the zoning approval, the
Yes.
PUD approval?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but there is a mechanism that says, hey, you know, for every 25% you build of residential, you've got to build 25% of the commercial, something like that. So I'm just making that up.
That is correct, and that threshold is completely subject to council's subjectivity.
Okay. Okay, so there is, okay.
Now, you can ask the question of the developer, and the developer says it's not marketable, for which case they may say they're not willing to continue their application. But yes, you can put in constraints.
Right. Oh, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but the last thing that I want is apartments get built on the back half of this, and then nothing else ever happens.
Understood.
Because again, it's being, you know, proposed as a mixed use. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, in looking at plan unit developments and going through our ordinances and what requirements and why do we have plan unit developments, you know, one of the main things is there's some restrictive part of this property. You know, we've had different things, you know, hey, most of this property is under a floodplain and we can't be developed. There's some restriction that doesn't allow. What's the restriction here on this piece of property?
As to why it has not developed historically?
Well, what makes it restrictive for this to be a plan unit development consideration?
I mean, it's 29 acres that, I mean, it's not in a high hazard flood area. There are a few, I think there's a couple of wells on the property, but there's no pipeline crossings. I mean, as far as Friendswood goes, it's a pretty clean piece of property.
Okay, well, I'm just saying in past practice, when on planning and zoning and then on council, you know, they always had some, you know, there's aerial power lines, there's, you know, easements that run through crisscrossing. I mean, there's always something that says, hey, this is why it needs to be treated differently and rises to the level of a plan unit development.
So
Okay.
part of the discussion over the past, at least the 18 years that both Aubrey and I have been here, this property has been looked at residentially before. Historically, it hasn't progressed beyond the initial evaluation simply because there was a desire to get industrial growth out here. To have a straight rezoning with residential in the back and commercial in the front would not fly because everything else around there is fairly straightforward in light industrial, and CSC. So the PUD was the alternative compromise to have a little bit of both, to have the residential that's been sought after for so many years, but also provide some of the commercial aspect to it.
Okay, so coming back to the noise that I brought up earlier. So under the plan unit development, at the property line, because it's industrial on one side of the road or right down the middle of the road and residential on the next, what would be the noise limitation on this plan unit development? Just so I want to make sure, I'm considering it's going to be residential.
So historically, we looked just simply at the zoning, but if you want to set the same threshold for noise for this as industrial, you can, given the fact that we have that latitude with the PUD.
And I think the noise is measured from the property, like receiving the noise. So it would actually, the decibels would be, it's the use of the property. So the residential use would be the receiving.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm thinking about this correctly. So we got Garage Ultimate with their cars, and then, they bring them out, they tune them up, they, run their engines up and down. But then you have a fence line, then obviously the noise doesn't know the fence line's there, and it just keeps going. But you're saying the use is residential, therefore it starts at their property line though, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But with the PUD, it's contract zoning. So it's a negotiated zoning. So you can write in the PUD a requirement that any, whether it's noise abatement or decibel limitations, you can set it for a different threshold from what's our current standard for residential properties. So the concern being the garages were there first, and so they're used to a higher threshold for which to emanate noise from their development. With residential going in next to it, they're going to prefer a lower decibel threshold. If y'all wanted to put in a higher threshold because the garage use was there first, you can do so.
Okay. Well, it is a concern of mine because just like Councilmember Griffin mentioned, is about the landfill. These folks were here first, and they had industrial surrounding them for the most part. Why would they think it would be something different? And here we are looking to make that change that then creates a burden on them and anybody else industrial that moves in some of the other property that's zoned industrial. I just think, maybe there's further apart incompatible zoning districts between industrial and residential, but I can't think of one right now. And a lot of times we put buffer zones, we put garden homes or office parks in between commercial and residential. We do things to match up incompatible zones. Well, this one seems to be a big one for me, a big incompatibility. So it's concerning me. Okay. I think, let me just double check. Yeah, and I am glad that the developer is conscious of this issue, heard it at P&Z, and then made some changes. But what I don't see is any engineering behind it. Do we need 10 feet? Do we need 20 feet? Do we need 30 feet? Maybe it's not, maybe this noise isn't an issue at all. I just don't know enough, and nobody's done any engineering other than just kind of, hey, we'll just keep moving these things back. It makes me concerned that we're going to put a problem in place. So that's just a concern I have. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you very much, and Murad.
John,
Go ahead.
Joe brings up a good point. I'm very reluctant to have some council members who's never developed any property put in specific timelines or phases. I think that I would like to hear from the landowner who has developed numerous properties. You said to us that you've represented to us that you've built numerous properties like this. Could you give us a timeline that you believe this development could be phased in a way that we're not sitting there at the end of the day looking at apartments and not getting the commercial? Could you give us an idea? I understand that this is to be developed in 24 months. The whole thing's supposed to be developed in 24 months, is my understanding. Is that true, Aubrey? And I don't want to sit here and say, okay, I want you to do 25% of this, 25% of that, 25% this, and then that. I'm not a developer. I have no expertise in that. And another thing that I want to mention as far as property rights and advocacy for the property owner, this developer did not come before P&Z and the city council without owning the property. Numerous occasions, people don't own the property, but they go and try to get the ordinances changed. And if they get the ordinances changed, they'll put the money up to buy the property. This property owner has not done that. So I will always advocate for the property rights and the property owner, just like I will always advocate for the property rights and the property owners of Garage Ultimate. One thing that was mentioned about the sound decibels and stuff, I know that we see barriers that are put up along major thoroughfares that allow the dissipation of the road noise going into residential areas. And I'm just wondering if that might be a requirement along the area where their road turns into their property. You're not going to be using 20 feet of their side of the easement. You're going to be going into your property too. I'm wondering if along there you don't put up a 10-foot barrier wall that would completely mitigate for any loud noises that might occur and increase the safety of your property for Garage Ultimate, because it would be a barrier to entry. And I just want to hear your thoughts. I don't want to sit up here and tell you, you should develop this in 25. I want you to tell me how you can do that. And with the sound noise, I think if we can get by the sound noise, I think that I don't have a problem with this.
Sure, let me attempt to first address the phasing issue. So the way the 24 months works, is my understanding, is that the property would not be fully built out, but the development permits would be sought. So we would have to have gone through the development permit process to secure permits for everything that we're proposing be built within 24 months for the PUD to be valid, basically. So it wouldn't mean to be built, but it would mean that the development permits are secured and that we're making progress. And Aubrey's there? Good. In terms of the sound, this is all up to, what you feel is appropriate. I want to be careful just throwing out recommendations, but if the developer and the property owner felt comfortable with it, I think that something that may be able to be done is that if there's a particular decibel level you want to see, it could be somewhat of a performance standard. So that, we have to come back with concept plan, with a whole site plan. And it could be that part of the PUD is that whatever is developed here and whatever is shown on the site plans and civil plans has to demonstrate a certain compliance, a performance standard, so to speak, with a decibel level. That could include some engineering. It could include a certain size tree buffer, a certain sound wall that's put up. But whatever it is that if we don't come back with a particular demonstration that we've shown a decibel level at a property line of X, Y, or Z, whatever you set.
And I believe that our city is at 70 decibel point basis is what I understand is the maximum that we want going into these residential areas. Is that right, Aubrey? Is it in extreme cases, 70 decibel?
70 is for commercial.
For commercial, okay. And for residential, what we have a limitation there that we can be mitigating to?
58.
58 at night.
58 at night? Okay, so that would be the parameters that these people who are going to move into this area would probably appreciate, is if they don't have situations where their decibel levels are over 58 for residential and 70 for commercial. I don't know that that's too strenuous to ask for, but I think that's something that could be brought back to us. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't want to speak for city manager or legal, but I believe that as a planner, I think that you could set a condition that says, in the PUD text now, we write in that there's a certain compatibility that must be achieved, and that means that there's a decibel level of 58 that reaches the residential side. And that could be written as a performance standard, and it would be on the developer and the residential developer and the property owner to come back and demonstrate compliance with that with their site plan. And if that doesn't work, then that would mean that after so long, the PUD would no longer be valid after 2 years if they choose not to pursue the project. So.
While we have you up here, the question was asked in a couple of different forms about doing the commercial applications at some point prior to the residential and/or moving people into the residential to where there's not the scenario where the residential gets occupied and there's no commercial. Speak to that issue if you will, please.
Sure. So what we've committed to in the document you have right now is that within 2 years, that the project would be secured in terms of building permits for both the residential and all of the residential and all of the retail. So that may not mean that all 85,000 square feet of retail is built at the end of 2 years, and it could mean that all of the residential is not built, but we've gone through the permitting process so that both will be built within a reasonable amount of time. And if, I believe that the property owner is the retail developer, and I believe that we've already discussed with them that timeline, and that's something that they can do, and that, like I said, we've committed to it in the PUD. Doesn't mean it'd be built and constructed, but you'd have all the permits, and the process would be ongoing. And it wouldn't make any sense for a developer to go through all that process of civil engineering to then just not build everything at the end of 2 years. And even if they would do that, then that means eventually the PUD would become invalid, and the zoning would, they'd be in default of the PUD, so to speak.
Out of curiosity, though, what would happen if you secured the permits for all, but only constructed the apartments, even though you'd be not in compliance with the PUD, you would still have certificates of occupancy for the apartments and without any requirement to complete the retail. So that is a concern of the cities.
Understood.
So any criteria that we put in there in terms of phasing, I would tie it to the certificates of occupancy for both uses and not the permitting. If that is a concern for council.
Does his business plan depend on one helping to fund the other, the commercial and the residential? So is he more dependent on the residential and then helping to fund and build the commercial, or is it vice versa?
I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah. And I will say for the phasing, we've referenced, just to put everyone at ease, like we've referenced the specific portion of the city code that requires the phasing and permits. So we've not written something, we're relying on the code, but if more specificity is needed to give you comfort, then I think that could be, of course, I think that they would
But
agree to
permits
that.
aren't construction.
Permits are not construction, as been noted to me by a number of folks on various projects throughout the city.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that could happen is the PUD actually expire and nothing, and you have your certificates of occupancy in the residential, and then this is, and then market really determines what that 85,000 square foot is going to be filled up with, and there might not be a market there like there isn't across the street as you go in certain areas.
So as one who built schools next to subdivisions, some that were there from 1970, the school, and not the subdivisions came later, and one that built a school next to subdivisions, you may be in with all your legal rights and do all kinds of mitigation, but there is a hassle factor, and you will deal with it. The staff will deal with it, because it never fails.
We can't mitigate it.
You cannot mitigate it. You really, you can try, but you will have to do a yeoman's job to really mitigate that kind of thing.
Okay, any further questions? All right, concerning item 8C, the ordinance that we're considering, are we ready to move forward with asking for a motion, or is there some other matter we need to discuss prior to doing that? Do I have a motion regarding this ordinance? Hearing none, we will move on then to item.
I believe if we're going to make a motion, then we would want to add some of the things that we've discussed here.
And and you can make that motion if you choose to vote in the affirmative, you can make a motion to.
I'm thinking about the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve with developer reaching out to staff and phasing the development so that one portion doesn't get built in priority to the other, and that the sound issues are properly addressed to the decimal levels that are accepted norms of the city. Our decibel levels, we have accepted norms of the city. So my motion is to do, motion to approve with the developer reaching out to staff and prioritizing the development so that none is built over priority of the other, and decibel levels are addressed and mitigated. Does that make sense? Is anybody making that sense?
I think we would need something a little more.
Instead of trying to draft something at the dais, is what it sounds like we're doing, it might be, you might want to consider suspending it until another council meeting, postponing it until another council meeting. So
To address
some of
those
these issues that you've said can be addressed, and so you can have
Let's
something
do that.
you can actually vote.
I'll make a motion to suspend and let everything that's been digested here this evening be addressed and brought back to us at a later time, so
I'll
we can make
second
it.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, if you'll accept my amendment to your motion, is to postpone this issue, I think is the correct under Robert's rules.
Thank you very much, sir.
And I have because this was really just the land use map.
This
It
was,
wasn't,
this was both, the land use map and the
he was
rezoning.
making the motion for 8C and 9, and
Both,
9.
both requests are included in the ordinance because we didn't want you to approve the
So we were
land use map
combining.
amendment and then not the ordinance,
So we're combining.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all or none.
Okay, that confused me.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye? Okay, so that has been postponed.
It's up to you guys.
All right. We're going to take about a 3-minute break to stand up. We've been sitting here a long time. And for those who are no longer interested in future items, you can leave.
I like to do things in order. So it's like approve the land use, then go to the other. We're not used to sitting here this long.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting back to order. According to our agenda, we are on item 9. We are to consider an ordinance approving the requested amendments to planned unit development 2023-28, commonly known as Friendswood City Center, located at 4001, 3727, 3723, 3715, 3711, 3771, 3761, 3751, and 3801 FM 528 Road, and 18001, 18005, 18009, and 18013 Blackhawk Boulevard, and restricted reserves OL and M, no address assigned, also known as the final plat of Friendswood City Center, 106.472 acres of land, being a replat of restricted reserves A and C, Clear Creek Community Church, Friendswood, film code number 691601, Harris County Map Records, and 95.78 acres situated in the Sarah McKissick Survey, abstract number 549, City of Friendswood, Harris County, Texas, to amend certain building heights, number of stories, density, landscaping, signage, and setbacks. Council, are there any questions, comments, or discussions on this matter?
Motion to approve.
No, this, we have
This
to
is a
have
public
public
hearing
hearing.
first.
Oh, okay. We got any public?
I think I have one request to speak to this item, but we'll hear from city first.
I'll just give you a quick rundown. It's basically, this is just a lot of cleanup for the city center. So just a summary of the changes is to increase the maximum height from 70 feet to 90 feet on lots 6 through 12, increase the maximum number of stories from 4 to 6 stories on lots 6 through 11. Lot 12 is the multifamily lot. It will remain 4 stories. Increase the density from 29 to 43 units per acre on lots 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Reduce front yard setbacks, interior side yard setbacks, exterior side yard setbacks. reduce certain landscape buffers, allow multifamily use on the first floor of lots 6, 7, 9, and 10, provided they are not located on the front of the building. And then they added some exhibits. Basically, their signage and landscaping and street cross-sections, just for clarity. And then the names on the other exhibits were just, the names were changed. So, like I said, it's just a lot of cleanup and clarifications. The front 5 lots, the dumpster screenings or dumpster enclosures will be allowed to be in front of the front build lines because they have rear entry from the street. There was nowhere to put the dumpsters behind the buildings, so they're going to be in front of the buildings. Typically, we don't, those are structures that we don't allow to encroach the front build line, so that exception was added as well. And I think the applicant is here for further explanation.
So to back up the truck just a moment, got ahead of myself. This is item 9A on the agenda. It is now 7:30 p.m. And I call to order this public hearing concerning the request to amend the planned unit development PUD 2023-28, commonly known as Friendswood City Center, located at all the previous addresses that I just said. I do have one request to speak on this issue from Phil Ratiso. You want to come forward? You don't want to speak on it?
I'm good, I got resolved.
Okay. I don't have any other requests to speak. Is that correct? Okay, so does council have questions for Aubrey at this point on this proposal?
The Planning and Zoning Commission did make a positive recommendation. There were some staff comments, but they addressed them between the P&Z action to before this meeting was posted.
All right, do I have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
You have to close the public hearing.
I'm closing the public hearing. I'm new at this.
Now, here we go. Now, here we go.
Do we have a motion regarding this issue now that the public hearing has been closed? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor? Any opposed? It is unanimous. All right, item 10, City Manager's Report. You're on, Mo.
Yes, sir, and I hope you'll send a thank you card to Mayor Foreman when he gets back and thanking him for this opportunity. Yes.
Double my salary.
Double your salary. I will be brief. I know we've belabored a lot of this meeting this evening. There's with a lot of discussion, which is fruitful and helpful. First up, we have the 2025 Employee Service Awards. Recently, in December, the city held its annual Christmas dinner and holiday dinner and recognized employees in their years of service in 5-year increments. We had employees, 24 total, that would have received an award that were either there that evening or would be eligible for the recognition, ranging this time from 5 years to 25 years. Obviously, we've had years past where employees were having served us 40, 45 years. We still have a fantastic group of employees that have been here a number of years, and we thank them for their service to our community. Thank you to Mayor and Council for those that were able to make the dinner. The second item, we had received notice that we're receiving our 37th Gulf Coast Finance Officers Association Excellence Award for our annual comprehensive financial report. That's our annual audit and financial reports. 37 years is, well, I was in elementary school when we first got this award, so it's a testament to the fantastic folks we have in finance and all the hard work they do, as well as the leadership from this council, so thank you.
And I was a young lawyer.
You were. That sounded better in my head when I said it, so my apologies. Yes. The Texas Floodplain Management Association, recently our graduate engineer, Marwa Blackburn, gave a presentation on our master drainage plan to that audience. As always, as I note these items, we have exceptional employees that are sought out in various professional organizations to speak on the areas that they are experts in, and we appreciate the attention they bring to Friendswood and the good work that they do. So please pass along my thanks, Hill, to you and your team. Next up, we have our insurance services rating. This is the ISO that the city gets done every so often. It's a periodic requirement that evaluates our fire suppression and our infrastructure capabilities in Friendswood and gives a classification ranking anywhere from 1 to 10, with 1 being exceptional. Recently, the city of Friendswood learned that we're improving from a class 3 to a class 2, which is a very good score. As you can see on the screen before you, both at the state, across the state of Texas, as well as nationwide, there are very few class 1 and class 2 cities, considering the vast majority are 3 and above. So fantastic job by our fire department, fantastic job by our Department of Emergency Services, as well as our Public Works and Engineering departments that provide the infrastructure assets for that. So great job by all. This is what insurance rating agencies use when they try to determine what your homeowners and commercial properties insurance will be. So big thank you to that. Next up, we have our Senior Center Fashion Show that will take place on Thursday, January 8th. So this Thursday at 1 p.m. At the Senior Activity Building off of Morningside. It's a fantastic opportunity for folks, both seniors and non-seniors, to attend and show off their drip, as the younger residents like to call, which is terminology the younger generation refers to as fashion. Again, since I've insulted my elders, I'm going to insult my youngsters as well. Later on this month, Saturday, January 18th, we will have our annual tree giveaway for residents of Friendswood. It will take place this year in the parking lot behind City Hall at Stevenson Park. You will have to demonstrate that you are a resident of Friendswood with either a utility bill or driver's license denoting your location here in the city of Friendswood. This is first come, first serve, and if past years are any indication, it'll be gone within the first 10 minutes. So I encourage folks that are interested to attend. Next up, our senior center is having some more celebration, this time Mardi Gras on Wednesday, January 21st at 11 a.m., also at the activity building off of Morningside. This will take place from 11 to 1 p.m., so bring your best Mardi Gras outfit and beads and enjoy the celebration and the festivities. We will have a Touch a Truck and winter weather event at the end of January on Saturday, January 24th at 10 a.m. This will take place at Friendswood High School. This event started last year and was a great success over off of Stadium Lane near Renwick. That's why we moved it over to the high school to accommodate some additional participants. So geared toward the younger kids, but obviously it's a great educational opportunity for parents as well. So we encourage folks to come out and see the various pieces of equipment we have and also learn about steps they can take to prepare for the extreme weather during the winter. Next up, we have elections coming up on May 2nd for positions number 2 and number 5. First day to file an application will be January 14th and the last day, February 13th, right before Valentine's Day. Lastly, I believe that is it. So do y'all have any questions? Thank you, guys. And my apologies again for my misappropriate.
No offense taken. All right, moving on to item 11A. Consider on second and final reading an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 1, generally, Section 2-21, Definitions, and Division 5, Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Section 246, Created Membership, and Section 248, Powers and Duties, and Division 12, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Section 2-83, Powers and Duties of the Friendswood City Code, Chapter 14, Building Regulations of the Friendswood City Code, and Chapter 30, Fire Protection and Prevention, Article 3, Fire Codes, Division 2, International Fire Code, Section 30-84, International Fire Code Adopted and Amendments, and Division 3, Life Safety Code, Section 30-119, Appeals of the Friendswood City Code to update the name of the Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals and duties of such board, as well as the duties of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and to adopt the 2024 International Code Council Model Construction Codes, the 2023 National Electrical Code, and local amendments thereto. Morad, if you'd please give the council an overview of this item.
We'll turn it over to our Community Development Director, Aubrey Harbin. You may recall last month, City Council approved this item on first reading with the request that additional backup material be provided that highlight the changes both between the 2018 code and the 2024 code, as well as the local amendments and a changes marked copy, all of which has been provided in your backup material. I do believe Aubrey has a few slides prepared to go over the item.
Good evening again. I'm going to do a few slides, and then Brian Rowan's going to do a few, and then Brian Mansfield's going to wrap it up. So just to give y'all a little more detail, a lot of the reorganization of the chapter was moving information around and clarifying some information. I want to clarify that the Construction Board of Appeals is the board that would hear any appeals to the decisions of the building code official or the fire code official. They also hear appeals for the flood damage prevention, which is chapter 34 of the Code of Ordinances, and then the local license section that we amended in this amendment. Zoning Board of Adjustment hears and decides appeals, variances, and special exceptions when it comes to the zoning ordinance, the sign ordinance, and then they're also designated as the Building and Standards Commission for substandard structures. So the wording wasn't consistent, so it is now, so all better. Some other reorganization. A lot of the chapter was the cities across the state used to issue electrical licenses. We issued master electrician, journeyman, and apprentice licenses, and the state took that over several years ago. So there was a lot of leftover regulations from when we issued those licenses. So some of it was information that needed to be kept, so we reorganized the whole chapter to flow better. It basically covers our contractor registration and insurance requirements. We are upping our amount of general liability insurance from $300,000 to $1 million. I haven't seen a $300,000 insurance policy since I've been working here for 17 years. So we're just updating that. And then permitting requirements, just clarifying submittal requirements are on our website. We're all digital submissions and permitting now. Your approved job or plans to be kept on the job site, and then addressing any violations, and then site conditions during construction, including trash and general housekeeping practices. Then we talk about our fees. They're in Appendix D, but we do charge re-inspection fees and work without permit fees. Inspections, again, some of this was relocated from the old electrical section, but it is applicable across the board to all permits. Certificates of occupancy, copied and modified mostly from the zoning ordinance. A long time ago, we just did certificates of zoning compliance. It was a $10, you just checked your zoning, but now we've incorporated the verification of zoning into our permitting process. And so just clarifying that we do require certificates of occupancy to occupy a building, whether it's a new tenant, a name change, or an owner change. We use certificates of occupancy for other purposes. We report to the chamber on new businesses. We report to FDEDC on downtown activity, and then we also report to CEDC on businesses that have come into Friendswood as well. And you all get it every month in your reports as well. And now I'll turn it over to Brian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So there's the list of codes that we are adopting. It's the building code, the residential code, the plumbing, mechanical, swimming pool code, energy conservation code, and the national electric code. The primary reason these are individualized is the national electric code is written by the NFPA versus the International Code Council. So the whole book is written completely different than the rest, so that does, I guess that was the reason that we had the difference in our ordinance. Aubrey cleaned up all that to make it far more succinct and easier to follow. None of the information really changed, it's just more of a administrative, so that anybody could go into any section of the code and or ordinance and understand how we're administering the code. So I know one of the issues was the amendments that we did have locally. Across all codes, there are requirements for administrative that are identifying the jurisdiction and just the normal things that are in the code to personalize it to our community. And those are the lists there. Primarily, they're either geographical or requirements for weather, much like the depth of the sewer, 12 inches, because we're not in the frost zone, we don't need to have, so those things are put in as a blank in the code, so the amendment is there to fill in that answer. These are all the administrative ones. The vent pipe length is 6 inches because we don't have snow on our roofs. So those are the kind of things that were the administrative codes, the amendments that we are putting in for the administrative portion. Now the community initiated are very minimal. Those are the 4 items that we have put into place. There are reasons for each one of them. The professional engineer for the stamped foundations is just, it helps with our enforcement of our windstorm requirements. The electrical services on the exterior disconnect, it's recently changed in the electric code, but it's still not as clear as our retail or wholesale providers, Texas, New Mexico, and Centerpoint would like. Our permit expiration date aligns them all because it had it in 3 of the codes but didn't have it in the others, so now we're just putting it in all of them. And the last one is our irrigation so that it matches our Texas state requirements. So that is the community initiated. I know that was a large concern last year, or last meeting. Like I said, we've really tried to streamline the code as much as we can so that we're not influencing it at all. I believe having all those available to me gives me the most leeway to accept the intent of code so that we can work with contractors and ensure that we are getting the product that we need, as well as the leeway that they need to navigate the code. So the changes, one of the other questions was the significant changes that we had. Probably I'm just gonna really address the residential code because that is the code that we typically run into the most. It has the most effect on residents. A lot of it was just kind of clarifying what was always there, just needed a little more tweak to ensure that the communities were enforcing it the way the code intended. The head pressure on the drain, waste, and vent system to 10 feet, it was basically always to the top plate. They've just now increased it to a significant, the state law is 10 feet on theirs as well. In the past, you couldn't use air to test any of the plastic pipes. You just can't push air in. You can do it through the air vacuum system versus so you don't burst and blow your plumber's eyes with a piece of plastic. So they're aligning the sprinkler system because as much as the state of Texas does not want residential sprinklers, code is really trying to make it easier for that melding of residential sprinklers and the code alignment. So they're going to continue to kind of push for residential sprinklers. I don't know if it'll ever get there, but they're trying to make their effort on the code side to make it more palatable for the states, because Texas isn't the only state that doesn't allow residential sprinklers, or it doesn't mandate residential sprinklers. And some of the other things, the emerging disconnect, like I said, they've identified it being outside, and receptacles was one of the issues that in the last meeting we had talked about. Again, there are going to be some things in code that aren't convenient, but it's also there to ensure that there is a cause for everything. May not be a cause that we agree with, but there is a cause for every change in code. So those are kind of the general items that I know we had concerns about, and you just wanted more information about. I believe that's it for... Oh, and then we talked about the substandard structures in the last meeting. The substandard structures were always in place. It just got moved to this because this is kind of the easier place for us to navigate and enforce through the building side rather than the zoning side where it was before. And I'll turn it over to Brian Mansfield.
Good evening. We'll talk about the fire codes real quick. Kind of go through the chapters here. These are the major changes that are coming from the codes right now. Emerging technology, I know that batteries are a lot. Other than the emerging technology devices, our communication devices are ways to get the information out. And then the lithium battery type are a lot of the safety devices. You know, a lot of concerns that are coming out on these fires that are starting, so that's why the codes typically change. Occupancies and the system updates, so you have some changes in our carbon monoxide detection and new rules for flammable, flammable refrigerants and some others that are out there as well. So those are some of the major changes. And I believe we have some for the events and operational. So you have some of the major events outside. These are some changes from, unfortunately, some events that have happened in the past that are now trying to mitigate future incidents. And then there's a little bit of code and structure compliance that have happened as well during the code changes. These are the major highlights for the changes from the old code to the new code that are just within the changes. And then real quick, we'll go over the proposed amendments, the local amendments that we have. Our fire hydrants for standpipe systems, right now the code has a 100-foot setback. We do ask that they also not put them right up against the building. We want to make sure we have a fall zone, collapse zone, so that's why we add the 40-foot in there, so that way it's not right up against the building. So that's the reasons for that. And then the on-site hydrants main, it's for the 300 feet versus the 4. We've had a standard of 300 feet for years. This is a carry-on ordinance for years, so that has to do with the amount of hose lay and trying to minimize the amount that we have to use for getting a connection to the hydrants. So commercial cooking extinguishment systems, this one is, so right now in your business, in your local businesses, even your churches, the schools, the daycares, if you put a residential cooking system in, the actual building code only requires, the mechanical code only requires them to put your hood system that you have in your house and nothing else. However, number one cause for fires is typically cooking fires, especially in the residential setting. Same habits you use at work, school, everywhere, in your school or somewhere else is the same habits you use at home. You carry them over, and we're trying to mitigate that. So we're asking to put suppression systems, at least a minimum amount that's required for that, suppression systems in the residential hood systems. They're usually a smaller system, but to help mitigate any possible fires in those commercial settings.
Brian, I have one question there.
Yes, sir.
Is this still considered an adequate automatic extinguishing system?
It's a little bit more
Than this?
robust than that, but it's close to that. They're piped in now, but and when we first did that, we were allowing the ones that are just magnets. Is that what you're referring to?
That's what I'm. That's what this is,
So,
and that's what I
right.
use over at.
Now they
Anderson
actually
Jones.
pipe them in, but they're just one step above what you're referring to.
So what do I have to do to pipe it in?
So you'll have to get with your the sprinkler company, but they do make systems that are like that still pipe in.
Okay, so right now I've got these stuck up under there.
For
Anderson Jones Lodge.
Oh, okay.
Above our cook stove.
And what you have now is, we're not going back to try to force it on the backside, just mainly on the
These have passed every year.
Huh?
These have passed every year.
Yeah, and we're not going to go back, and the intent is not to go back, but to go forward, trying to make sure. So a lot of that wasn't on, it wasn't actually in the ordinance.
Right.
We were enforcing it, but it wasn't an ordinance, so we're trying to clean it up, but to try to make sure we mitigate
I
any
just
issues.
wanted to bring that up.
Yes.
I wasn't sure about that part.
But for clarification, if you already have a certificate of occupancy, you're not going to be
Yeah.
required to go back and change that out.
It would be if you had a new occupancy
Well, I
permit
have
or
a
something.
brand new, ready to go.
Yeah,
Whenever the next time I get inspected, I'll have it in.
But that's what we're looking for, is just some kind of system. Yes, sir.
Hey, Brian, before you move on,
Yeah.
what's the biggest use in this particular section? Is it the school district? I mean, where would you see this mostly occur?
I mean, even like, we have, even A occupancy, I mean, a lot of it's A occupancies, but we've had daycares. We have daycares that are not sprinklered.
Yeah.
That have them, and they don't cook. right? But the teachers, they don't cook for the kids, but the teachers, so they don't have to have a commercial system. They don't cook for the kids, but the teachers are heating something up, or they use it for crafts. They put wax on there, they're doing a project, they get distracted, and the next thing you know, something happens.
Understood, thank you.
Yes, sir. Fire areas, this is another kind of a cleanup that we haven't, that, you know, putting it in code. We don't actively allow them to have partially sprinkler buildings for a lot of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the, you know, we don't want the fire department thinking the whole building's sprinklered. The same thing with occupants. So when we come through buildings, we don't allow for that. So right now the code kind of allows for that. If you have if you meet certain requirements, we're just trying to take that out. If you have a sprinkler building and you add to it, that portion needs to be sprinklered as well. And this is the carryover for the 12,000 square foot. Most of the A occupancies, if you look at the code right now, require sprinkler systems at 12,000 square foot or more anyhow. We're just putting that in there. Mainly it's for trying to slide in the second stories. A lot of times you'll have a building come in and they have a high atrium. I know it's just going to be a one-story building. Next thing you know, they come in with 2 stories, and it actually helps the occupant because we'll come in and we've had to make them go back and add sprinkler systems and put a water system in and so on and so forth. So a lot of it's try to get the most use we can out of those buildings and to make sure that they're able to get the most use out of them as well.
But that's only in excess of 5,999 feet?
So that if you have that footprint, right, that would be 12,000 square foot or more. Oh, the audible visible alarm. So the code doesn't require, it's something that we've been requiring for years as well, is that if you have a sprinkler system in the building, it only requires you to have an outside audible alarm, but you could be on the other end of the building, and if your business doesn't require, you have a small office complex or a small office business that doesn't require an alarm system, you may not know that the sprinklers are going off on the other end. So if there's a sprinkler system in that building, an alarm system, we require at least one audio-visual device in every single suite, so you know there's something going on in the building. That's what this is for.
Okay, I was wondering about that. I was wondering that we were requiring inside, and if you just looked around and water was spraying all over yourself, you would know that sprinklers were going on.
No, yeah,
so now I understand what you mean by that.
Right, so you could be on one end, and the reason why that building is, you know, we have some structures or some that are sprinklered, and they, you know, the ones that are the A, like, you know, if there's a restaurant or something, they have a full system. But if you have a little bitty tax office or something,
Gotcha,
you won't
makes
know
sense.
that something's going on the other end, or a nail salon or something like that. And then this is the riser room. We do have some older buildings that in the past, or we currently have, that are kind of, the sprinkler room's kind of hidden inside the building. So this is just to put in the code that it needs to be an exterior building, not attached. We have one that's attached, and it requires issues. It's inside a vet clinic, and if they have operations, you can't go in there. So this is just put it in code. That has to be separate. And then this is the one I believe that we talked about last time, but it was the elevators. So to make sure, I know it says 2 or more, but it's basically 3 floors. So the 5 floors is what's in there. If it's 3 floors or more, they have to have emergency power for their elevators. Big issue for EMS, power's going out all the time. And next thing you know, we're hauling people down. Fire and EMS, we're hauling people down multiple flights of stairs, back issues, and it's just not good for anybody. So
Brian, I was going to bring that up. In the title, it says 3 or more,
So
3
it's-
floors or more, but in the text, it says 2
It's-
or more. So are you going to change that?
It's above level of discharge. So the level of discharge is always the first floor, so it's 2 above base floor.
Oh, okay.
So it's just the way it's written, it's
2
code
or more
language.
stories above or below
Yes,
level.
ma'am.
Okay.
It's
okay.
code language.
Thank you.
And then we have a couple that we've asked to modify as well to help it a little more easier for building. So this one is removing the requirements for the alcohol. If you have 300, that if we currently have any buildings like that, we don't want to make it be sprinklered. Those will be mainly for, you know, any A2, mainly restaurants or bigger areas like that.
How do we calculate the 300 people occupants?
There's a chart in the code.
Yeah.
There's a chart in the code that says that, and then they have to give us areas. There is areas, kitchen's a separate area, bathrooms are not included, the lobby's a certain area, and then the seating area is a certain area too, and those all have different amounts.
It's based on square footage, obviously, in those assembly areas.
Correct, but it's not a complete aggregate of the whole area and just, there it is. It's segregated a little bit and calculated up. And then this is another one that's, we're trying to help the best we can with builders for the access. It's 30 foot. Some of the areas that we have in downtown, dense, trying to get with the ladders, there's some obstructions. So in lieu of some of those areas, if you have these things, then you can have a further access for the fire apparatus. So just trying to help some areas that, and some current projects that are in the works. And then this is, just real quick, this was, you know, to make, help understand better for some of the restaurants we have in town. We do have a lot of older restaurants, a lot of older buildings that are not sprinklered. And so they are capped right now by code at basically 99. So if you get at 99 occupants, so the occupant load is really the reasoning for, you know, the restriction of being able to add extra space for those areas. If they go above that, it requires them to sprinkler or, you know, to sprinkler those buildings. So we listed several of them that are kind of been hot spots or areas that we have that have issues. The reasons why I put on the opportunities there, you know, you could install fire sprinklers. You could always put a plan in and you know, ask for a different, some alternatives or give us some ideas of what you're trying to do. One reason why I put the Ocean Sushi is that when they came in, you know, they were the same thing. Hey, you're limited to 99 on your occupant load. And, you know, they didn't want to, so they sprinklered it. They retroed that building so that we could get it done. So it just depends on.
Even if you don't think you can get 99 people in there? Even if you don't think you can get 99 people in there?
It's based on what the code allows for those occupant loads, and it's calculated that way. So, and it's the way it's presented by code. So the architect gives us the amounts, the areas they plan on using, and what the code allowances are for those areas. We divide them up, we add them up, and we usually have a conversation with the architect, several conversations with the architect about it, and come to the conclusion of what the occupant load is.
But as Brian highlighted, there are some proposed alternative methods that we can do through the permitting process. We just need to engage the owner and the architect.
That's great.
Real quick, as we go through it, these are surrounding communities and what they're at on the current code, their codes. Most of them do have some kind of amendments to them. Most of them are adopting amendments. We didn't add all of those, that list, but these are basically we're pretty much in line with most of our neighbors now on what we're doing for code. And then this is a list of our historical all the way back to the, you know, standard building code. So over the years, all the different codes that we've had, but honestly not too often. So if you look, there's about 5 to 6 years in between the last current ones before we've done the adoption of these codes. We try to not do it every single year so it's not an impact to builders or to the community or to anybody. So, and then here's some of the alternative. Obviously, they can come to the Board of Appeals, like Murad said, or they could come up with alternative designs. We all, both levels, try to work with our architects and others when there's issues. It's like, hey, this is not tracking right now what you want to use the building for, or there's some issues. We try to engage them before just rejecting plans or saying this isn't going to work. And then why this is important, this was brought up earlier. We do have our insurance state office rating that we'll be able to go from a 3 to a 2. So having these codes in place, having the ordinances in place are very important to us, making sure that we maintain the best we can, you know, the best protection class we can, and also protect our citizens and the folks that are building and occupying here in town. I think that was it. So, got any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to say that, like last month, without context, I'm afraid my imagination ran away with me. And in my mind's eye, I envisioned municipal overreach onerous rules and regulations. And now that I have the context and I read it, I see careful due diligence, real discernment, and I just want to thank staff, especially for providing this to me, to just see how much work y'all put in to rearranging it, making it cleaner, making it easier to understand. Some of the building things I just don't know because that's not my area of expertise, but oh my gosh, it just made a whole lot of difference instead of my mind going off on some tangent. Getting this was a real relief to me, and this is just wonderful work on the part of our staff, and I thank you all for that.
My apologies, Robert, for not having that last month, but thank you for those comments.
All right, in light of this presentation, are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Do I have a motion on this item, item 11?
Motion to
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? It passes 4-0. All right, next is 11B, consider on second and final reading an ordinance repealing Chapter 70, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Article 3, Construction, Section 70-74, Duties of Abutting Property Owners, failure of property owners to have work done, and Section 70-75, altering lines or grades when putting down permanent street pavement in their entireties to eliminate certain property owners' responsibilities and to conform the Friendswood City Code to current practices and amending Chapter 70, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Article 3, Construction, Section 70-81, extending into street of the Friendswood City Code to differentiate between the permitted height of plants, trees, and branches in and over public streets from those over pedestrian areas within public rights-of-way. Do we want to hear from the staff on that issue? Anything?
Just a reminder, this is second reading. The ordinance was adjusted to have an 8-foot clearance over sidewalks as opposed to 10, which was originally opposed.
Any questions, comments, or discussion from council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Passes 4-0. 11C, consider an ordinance ordering the City of Friendswood general election to be held on May 2nd, 2026 for the purpose of electing council members for positions number 2 and 5.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Item 11D, consider an ordinance amending the city's general budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 by approving budget amendment 13 and providing for supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of certain funds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. All right, item 11E, consider an ordinance amending the city's general budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 by approving budget amendment 3 and providing for supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of certain funds.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. All right, item 12, the consent agenda. I need a motion approving
Motion to
the consent
approve.
agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Any objection to adjourning? We are adjourned.